Hello, Miss Brenda.
Hello. Madam President, it looks like we have all of the directors in, so we do have roll call.
Yes, ma'am. We may start. It is actually right at 6:30, right? Or 5:30, 5:29. We can start.
I will start with roll call.
Yes, ma'am.
President Sedis.
Yes, ma'am.
Vice President Sabita.
Yes.
Director Alvarado.
I'm here.
Thank you. Director Stanley.
Yes.
Director Weiner.
Present.
Thank you, Madam President. We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you. You can move to the next item, por favor.
Brenda, I think you're on mute, Brenda, or you sound, you kind of are going in and out. I'm not sure if it's somebody else making noise in the background.
It might be.
Oh, yeah, it cancels out whatever Brenda is trying to say, because I can see her speaking, but I can't hear her.
Can you hear me now?
I'm mute.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, great. Next item, Pledge of Allegiance or observation of moment of silence.
I will be observing a moment of silence for those who would like to say the pledge. It is your pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Brenda. We may move on.
Item is 1C, public comment. At this time, Madam President, I did not receive any public comment, and there are no attendees here in the meeting with us today.
Thank you so much. Next item.
Next item is item 2, closed session, public employee discipline, dismissal, and release pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957B1.
Thank you so much. Ms. Claire, Attorney Collins, you're on mute. We cannot hear you.
I apologize. At this time, it would be appropriate for the board to move into closed session, which would require locking the meeting and preventing any third parties from joining the meeting. And we would also ask that the recording be turned off.
Ms. Brenda?
Yes, they should be coming in, but we can start if you'd like.
All right. If we are back in open session, then I'd like to report out of our closed session that the board made no decisions in closed session that require a report out under the provisions of the Brown Act. And we can proceed to the next agenda item.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next item is agenda item 3, director censure. Conduct a discussion and consider taking an action to amend the censure of or otherwise reprimand Director Sherry Stanley.
Okay. So we actually met on this on the 9th of December, and I'm actually going to have our board attorney give us a brief summary of that action before we move forward.
All right. Thank you, Madam President. As the board is aware, the board took action in connection with a censure on the 9th day of December in 2020. That censure resolution was attached to tonight's agenda, and the purpose of agendizing this item was to make clear the board's the practical implications of the censure, and to make clear the board's expectations to the extent any of them are unclear in the censure resolution itself. Therefore, if you'd like me to, I can place the censure resolution before you on the screen, or the clerk may, but those are the context for this item. Practical implications and clarity in terms of the board's expectations.
Thank you so much. Yes, may we have it on the screen, please?
President Sudduth, could I ask for just a 30-second recess for a moment?
Actually, yes. Actually, let's just take a five-minute recess.
Thanks.
If that will help everyone.
Okay.
Okay. Do we have everyone back? I think waiting for Vice President Zepeda. There we go. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, so this item is brought before the board and the public because there were a few items we wanted to clarify, and especially about the practical applications and implementation of this particular censure order. Is everyone able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, but I have the document in front of me, so I don't need it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. A couple of the items that we wanted to ensure that is understood, especially by Director Stanley. Director Stanley, if you have any questions, again, just let me know. Please feed them through me. There are a couple of, if you scroll down, Ms. Brenda, to the actual resolution. Yes, down just a little bit more. Yes, stop. Thank you. It's really the conversations that's to be had between Director Stanley and any of the staff and the GM. This is one of the first areas of clarification that we want to make sure is going to be clarified. It does stipulate that any of those conversations should be fed through the board president. And I also want to stipulate that that should be clarified to me, the chair. So if it is not myself, if, for instance, Vice President Zepeda is chairing the meeting, then that is the person to whom the comments should be directed or questions should be directed. If it is if the inquiry is of a legal matter, then of course that would go through Attorney Claire Collins. If Director Stanley, you receive emails or notifications from the staff, it is your duty to respond via the president of the board, not directly to the staff, because that is the way the censure has been provided to you. It is not incumbent upon the staff to not speak to you or not to leave you a message or not to send you an email. It is incumbent upon you as the director to follow what the board has deemed necessary in order in this resolution. The other matter is in making sure that any trainings that are going to be held, we will work directly with you to make sure that those are trainings that are going to be effective. So I will be working with you, the GM, and our board attorney to make sure that these are trainings that are going to meet the needs that are stipulated in item number 2. There was a concern that was expressed during the public hearing on the 9th that, and Director Stanley dutifully responded to all of the concerns that were expressed, but specifically on whether or not any of this was being accepted as serious. So I have asked that a copy of this be printed out, and this will be presented in duplicate to Director Stanley, and she will be asked to sign a copy and return it to the board so that we will have it signed as received, and that copy will be on file so that there is no question that this has been received and she has received a copy and agreed to what has been presented to her. As she stated in the December 9th meeting, she did express her regret that anyone was harmed by what she did, and she would work towards fixing that. So we expect for that to happen. Again, the application of these are going to be an ongoing refinement of how we get through this period, and so we may have to revisit this again if this comes up where there is some practicality that we have to reconsider. But I expect that we will work through this together. I've spoken with Director Stanley this week, and the issues that we have and any bumps through the road, we've been managed to get through them. Any communication issues, as we said on the 9th, Director Stanley will work directly with me, and if it's legal in matter, she will work with Attorney Collins, but it must be legal in matter dealing with board legal issues or district legal issues. Otherwise, she will work directly with me or alternatively the chair if that is not me. Are there any questions from any of my fellow board members? Any questions or comments, I should say? Yes, Vice President Zepeda.
I want to see if we can clarify in regards to the training, because we're asking for training. Should we clarify when and how often or how many, or is it one training for 2 hours at the end of next year? Is it once every quarter? I think there should be some more guidance there so that we know that this is actually happening. And then my other question in regards to the signature, can it be e-signed? Because I know that from comments Director Stanley has made before, if we're trying to deliver it, she might not be able to get to the mailbox or to downstairs to be able to pick up the documentation. So I wonder if it'll be easier to just have it e-signed and be acknowledged that way. It might save a trip and to going downstairs. And then any do we need to talk now if something doesn't happen? What do we do, or does we just deal with that if something arises that does not comply?
Okay, so let me questions first. The e-signature is fine, and we can talk to Director Stanley. She's on the line, so that is fine. And Attorney Collins we can talk about how many, how often, in the deadline. I would like to say until we are satisfied as a board that it is effective. I don't like to put deadlines on. I mean, I'd like to put a deadline, but I don't like to say, oh, you have to take 2 trainings, because we already have taken. We have already. She's already taken trainings, and the minimum amount of trainings, right? And that is not yield the type of results that we would like to see. So it really should be based on the outcome, not the number. But that is my opinion. It really should be outcome based, but I do think that a deadline for when to start, we need a start date, and we do need some kind of parameter around some kind of deadlines. I do some kind of targets and milestones. I believe that we do need something like that. But Attorney Collins, do you have something on that regard?
Sure. In terms of the types of training, we did receive recommendations from our outside counsel, and it was for some either general or one-on-one trainings. And if you'd like me to list them, I'm happy to do so, but we do have recommendations from council to provide to the board president, was who I was intending to work with on this as the presiding officer of the board.
Are they outcome based, and do they have like milestones? I think that's what Vice President Zepeda was more interested in. Do we have a deadline, or can we set a deadline for when to start or finish these? I think it's more.
Sure. So I was soliciting at this point some availability for trainers. I just spoke, in fact, with some labor and employment trainers today. And so they were looking at openings for trainings over the following month, but then of course we'd have to coordinate with Director Stanley's schedule as well. So these are multi-hour trainings. We have 4 that have been recommended. And so at least my recommendation would be that we have 1 or 2 a month, because there does need to be downtime in between trainings in order for the material to be, absorbed and then put into practice.
Sure. Okay. Vice President Zepeda, is that?
Yeah, that's perfect. That's what I don't think it would be fair to Director Stanley or to the board to not put a parameter and then say, oh, you failed doing this, when we don't have any clarity on it. So that, I like what you said, President said it. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. And the e-signature, and Director Stanley, we can coordinate the e-signature. You're on mute. I just want to, if you want to respond, we can coordinate that. And Director Alvarado, yes, sir.
Yes, thank you, President Sutter, for putting this on the agenda, because while I was president, this agreement was signed by both you and I, me as president, you as vice president. And since that time, this agreement has been broken twice already that I know of. I don't have any knowledge of any other further infractions, but I think we need to be careful that we are enforcing this the proper way. There's a lot of things in here, and Director Stanley has proven that she's not willing to comply with the board policy and the procedures of the board. So I truly feel that we really need to keep a tight fist on this, and I'm sure that you as president will do that. But I think any future infractions, we need to come down even harder. We need to include that in the agreement. This agreement is for a year and possibly further. We need to, think about maybe increasing the time and adding more sanctions. So I believe this is important. Staff needs to be able to work properly and not have this opposition, not have this cloud lying over their heads. So I want to thank you, like I said, for bringing it up. And I, as a board member, would like a progress report as to see how we're doing with this, because I want to make sure that the board is really enforcing this agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And just so you know, that will be the last thing that we'll discuss before we close this item is the matter of progress reports on this item on future board meetings. So I will come back to that in just one moment. Director Weiner, you have something to say?
I do not.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Madam Claire, Madam Attorney Collins, on the matter of infraction or what happens if the agreement of the resolution is breached or is not followed, can you give us some direction on that, please, on what we can do to either amend this resolution or include it now on if it is not upheld?
Well, the options available to the board are extended or repeated or enhanced censure. The board has already adopted a number of the available measures, and I believe that they have been purposefully tailored in order to minimize, in order to address the conduct at issue. So then I think the question that you're asking is sort of what we would call progressive discipline, so to speak. And my recommendation would be that the board consider those on a case-by-case basis. And so they could be considered either if a breach of the censure occurs or following a progress report, which I would recommend perhaps on a quarterly basis. But that's at the discretion of the board in order to allow Director Stanley to go through the training and to be able to demonstrate progress.
Thank you so much. With that said, it is my intent to continue to meet with Director Stanley, and we will engage the progress towards meeting the tenets of the resolution, to stay in close contact with her, and to have this item on our agenda to give a progress report of how she is progressing towards meeting these tenets of this censure report. She had expressed previously that she intends to do so, so I will take that for what was said. And Director Stanley, did you have something you would like to say?
I had a couple of questions. Is this the time to ask them?
Yes, and could you please direct them to me? And then if necessary, I will ask them to anyone else, but please direct them to me.
Okay, when does the 2 board meetings a month pay begin?
It began as soon as the order went into effect.
Okay, so
Actually,
for example,
hold on one moment. Actually, Attorney Collins is going to answer.
I think this is actually a very important point that Director Stanley raises, because this month already and prior to the censure, there had already been several meetings. So let me just go back to the dates.
Yeah, we had
the special meeting was held on the 9th, and there were 2 special meetings and 2 Is that right? I'm sorry. I'm trying to look at the calendar. There may have been already 4 meetings. It seems to me that the 2-meeting limit should not begin until after the date that the censure was adopted. And that would be my recommendation to the board because
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we would want to cheat her. Yeah.
so then effectively that would begin then in January. It's, that's my recommendation.
Yeah, and I actually agree with that, but let me do this, please. Do we have any objection, Director Alvarado, Vice President Zepeda, and Director Wiener?
I have none, thank you.
Director Wiener,
I have none.
Vice President Zepeda.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. So Director Stanley, there's no objection. This will begin in January 2021. Does that answer your question?
And, well, I have a part 2 of that question. And
That's fine. I want to make sure the first
Yes.
question is answered. Okay.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Should I ask that question of you now, or?
Yes, ma'am.
In January, we have scheduled 1 board meeting, and I am also, so how does that work out? And I am also unclear as to what is being considered 2 board meetings. For example, is it just regular board meetings, in which case January would be only 1? And if special meetings are called, am I not required to be there, or am I required to be there and not be paid?
If your attendance is required, then I believe that you are paid for that. Attorney Collins, yes?
So the language of the resolution,
It's board
we
meeting.
return to it. Is that the compensation limit is, it says Director Stanley's day of service compensation is limited to 2 days of service per month. 1 day of service for each board meeting attended. So if there was a special board meeting and a regular board meeting in January, then this would cover up to 2 board meetings. But if there's only 1 board meeting in a month, then there would only be 1 day of service paid, as I read it.
Yes, that's the way I read it. So does that answer your question? If we call a special board meeting and in addition to the regular scheduled board meeting, you would be paid for both meetings.
Well, my 2-part question is, if there is two meetings, and then there's more than 2 meetings a month that are either called a board meeting or a special board meeting, am I required to attend them?
So board, if I just may say, from a board standpoint, board attendance is expected, but never mandatory.
Okay, so my training that I received as a new board member is that unless excused, board members must attend all regular board meetings, and I'm actually unclear of how that works out with special board meetings. So are you saying that we can show up if we can, or not show up if we can't? I'm unclear, please.
Madam President, if I may, I'd like us to read from the Board of Directors Meetings and Procedures Policy. Would you allow me to do so?
Yes, ma'am.
Section 2.6 of the Board of Directors Meetings and Procedures Policy states directors are expected to attend all regular, special, and emergency meetings of the board. And directors will be entitled to fully participate in all discussions of district business at each board meeting, and may move, second, and debate any question before the board. So I believe that the answer to your question is that the directors are expected to attend each of those meetings. And then combined with the limitation in the censure is, for example, if there were 3 meetings in 1 month, that the directors would each be expected to attend all of them. However, the days of service compensation would be limited to 2.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have additional questions, Director Stanley?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you so much. And then I will, are you clear that I will email the copy, either I will or Attorney Collins will email you a copy of the resolution for your e-signature?
For my what?
We are going to email you the resolution for your e-signature.
Okay, I do not, I have never done, I don't know how to do an e-signature other than just sign my name.
I will send you the instructions. It's just pushing a button. It's a digital signature. I will send you the instructions. It's rather easy. You just push a button and it gives us a date and time stamp. And it's.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. And thank you, Attorney Collins. Appreciate that. Were there any additional questions from my fellow directors?
None for me.
Thank you, Director Alvarado. No? And Vice President Zepeda.
Just a comment that, just to reiterate what Ms. Collins mentioned, I mean, the board is expected to attend every meeting regardless of pay, because we ran for office for service, not for pay. So just want to put that out there clear, that we should be attending every meeting regardless of the pay. So thank you.
Yes, sir, and thank you for that. And honestly, all of us do, because we're only paid for, just so the general public knows, we're only paid for 6 days of service anyway. And many of us attend meetings and board meetings and other meetings in the public far in excess of those 6. And many times we have meetings more than 6 in 1 month. So thank you for that. That's a reminder that we are here in service to the public.
Mm-hmm.
Public service.
Amen.
So thank you for that. I think we have no questions, but do we have any public comments, Ms. Brenda?
Madam President, we do not have any public comment at this time.
Thank you so much. Do we have any comments from the staff before I close out this item?
I had another question, please.
Oh, yes, Ms. Director Stanley. What's your question? Please direct it to me.
Yes, I'm working on trying to find out the spot, but I'll just tell you.
Yes.
Training. At some point, something was said about me paying for training. If that is part of the reason why I was asking about pay, it's entirely possible. Well, what is? It's not listed here, so I'm asking for clarification.
I believe we're covering the training, correct, Attorney Collins? I believe the district.
As far as I understand, the district is providing the training, as I understand it.
Yes, I don't believe we're asking you to pay Director Stanley.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I believe that issue is closed. So, Ms. Brenda, next item, please.
Thank you. Next item is adjournment.
Thank you, our favorite word. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate your time this evening. A great evening, and for those who celebrate, enjoy your holiday. We will see you.
Everyone.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Good night.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. Stay safe.